Okay, so we just got the first 2 episodes of Alien Earth. This is the new series that is created by Noah Hawley, who of course has given us some amazing shows in the past. This show honestly blew me away. I think I'm going to do a review for the first 2 episodes just because I want to talk more about what I really loved about it. This is more just talking about the ending of both episodes and what potentially could come next in the next 5 episodes that are to follow. Well, actually 6. There's 8 episodes total. So this is a show that takes place a little before the events of Alien 1979 and of course after Prometheus and all of that. And this is in the same realm, I believe, as Romulus, which is also another film here. Of course, Predator Badlands, still yet to see how that's going to connect in any way. But let's just talk about the show and what's going on here. So before we get into it, make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell. Our goal is 50,000 subscribers, so let's get to it. We have some weapons videos on the way. We are going to talk about a potential prequel there, but let's talk Alien Earth right now. So in 2120, there are 5 companies that now control the Earth and have colonized the solar system, which include the recently founded Prodigy Corporation. We see that Weyland-Yutani also has a space research vessel that has been approaching Earth after 65 years of expedition to obtain extraterrestrial specimens. Among them include the facehuggers. So Prodigy has also developed a research island called Neverland, where they're turning terminally ill children into something called hybrids. Hybrids are a mixture of the synthetics, but now they also have human consciousness in them. You have the cyborgs, the synthetics, and now the hybrids. So the first one to do this is going to be a young child named Marcy Hermit, who will become the first hybrid. She's going to have her consciousness transferred into an adult synthetic body, and thus when that happens, she renames herself Wendy. She is then put under the mentorship of Kirsch, played by Timothy Oliphant, who will oversee that she will also help other children undergo the procedure, and we see this happen, of course, throughout the course of the first episode, which I thought was interesting. Now, the person behind all of this is actually the character of Boy Cavalier, who is the CEO of the Prodigy Corporation and also is called the youngest trillionaire. So there's something there. Very much so an airhead and is so up to no good for sure. The reason he's making these new hybrids, he says, is not because he wants money, not because he wants to do whatever, right? He wants to sort of get artificial intelligence and sort of put it back a bit. He feels that humans should definitely get a little bit more of an edge, but his deepest desire to do this is that he wants somebody smarter than him, somebody he can actually have a conversation with, he says. And in that case, he sees that as Wendy. Wendy is going to be the hybrid that's going to be above the rest. He gives her more abilities, and we see throughout the episodes that Wendy's able to do more things than the corporation expected her. She's able to hack into things, she's able to control things, and she's able to have an intelligence higher than the other kids here, which I think is interesting to note. I think there's something definitely up with Wendy, and there's more to her than what we know. I think Boy is hiding a lot of things from the corporation itself on what his true intentions really are, and I think we're definitely going to get some very interesting stuff. Now, of course, that's going on with Prodigy and the children, but what's going on with the Weyland-Yutani research vessel? Well, we see that it is crashing onto Earth on a collision course, and we see the specimens have gotten loose, including a xenomorph that has killed most of the crew here. What we see, however, is that the cyborg on board is not really the friend of the humans. As we saw in the first couple of minutes with them, they weren't really vibing with the cyborg here, Morrow, who just wants to pretty much do the mission, he says. And we see that he is going to follow on these orders from Weyland-Yutani because he is just going to be there to make sure the specimen is right. So what Morrow does is he allows the rest of the crew to be killed, and he goes into a panic room as he will save himself and the cargo, which of course is the xenomorph, so that he can bring it back to Yutani, it seems. We eventually see the vessel crash into Prodigy City, where Wendy's human brother, Joe Hermit, works as a medic and also a corporate soldier. Boy Cavalier says that the contents now belong to Prodigy and deploys Kirsch, Wendy, and the rest of the hybrid kids with search and rescue to test their enhanced capabilities. He wants to see how far they can go and how much do they really have in them and all of that. Murrow then appears again and moves to protect the cargo and also detains 2 Prodigy soldiers who are then killed by a leech sort of specimen here, which is just gross, honestly. We see Wendy realizes her brother is here and wants to save him before he dies. We see as Hermit and the rest of the soldiers are trying to escape the xenomorph, who goes on a complete massacre, killing soldiers as well as an apartment full of wealthy people who didn't want to escape. I mean, they had the chance, but they didn't. Eventually, the xenomorph is about to kill Hermit until Murrow comes through, tasers the xenomorph as well as Hermit, and pretty much traps it in a sort of binding and then tries to take it with him until numerous soldiers appear and try to take Murrow in. And he's pretty much like, hey, y'all worried about me? Y'all need to watch out what's going on back there, as we see the xenomorph gain consciousness and attack and kill the soldiers, but doesn't kill Murrow for some reason. We then see when the hybrids arrive and Wendy locates her brother, who doesn't recognize her at first. That is until the other hybrid says, hey bro, that's your sister right there. And he's pretty much like, what? I thought she was dead. And they pretty much have a reconciliation that's cut short once they encounter xenomorph eggs. And then we see that their mission now is to contain them until Hazmat arrives, but that's not going to happen because then Hermit is taken away by the xenomorph. Wendy chases after him, and the other hybrid has to stay there by himself. And that's pretty much how the second episode ends. So I thought that this first 2 episodes were great. I think it really establishes this dilemma that I think is interesting to note about what makes you really human. There are different human passing like characters throughout. Like you have Murrow, who's more of a cyborg. You have Kirsch, who is a synthetic. You have Wendy and the rest of the Lost Boys, who are hybrids between the 2 or 3 if you want to count humans as well. And I think that that makes a very interesting dilemma. Aside from the xenomorph and all, we'll get to that in a bit. But I think this is all very much so talked about throughout the episodes, as we see Boy is sort of this like wealthy individual who's just playing around with his money, not really caring about the implications that he is causing with these characters. As many have pointed out to him, what do you do once these characters believe they truly are human but they aren't human? And for him, it's just about his own ego and trying to sort of say, well, I'm the smartest person alive and I need somebody smarter to talk to. They're just like playthings for him, right? And we see it throughout. He's not worried about if they get destroyed or not really caring that he put children's consciousness into these adult beings who are now being put into imminent danger with the xenomorph, and God knows what else is going on here. Because remember, in the trailer, they say there are 5 specimens on here. We do see the xenomorph, we see also the little leech, the eye thing, you know, there's a lot of things going on here. So that's more into what potentially is going on, which we'll talk about as well. But I think what's very interesting about the show right now is Wendy. Wendy is a character that seems to have limitless potential. And one of the interesting notes here is that Wendy also is able to communicate with the xenomorph. It seems when they first arrive at Prodigy City, she's able to hear the xenomorph and nobody else is able to. She says there's a buzzing going on, which if you watch the trailer and also the trailer for what's coming up ahead, it seems that Wendy will be able to communicate with the xenomorphs and aliens for some reason, which we don't know just yet. And as they say, there's a reason that they're trying to communicate, which we don't know what it is. And we see that they're going to be also incarcerated for some reason. Something's going to be discovered down there that I think Boy's going to want to keep to himself and doesn't want the hybrids to get out or notice it as well. And we see that also they will be experimenting with what they find down there. Now, Boy's doing all of this like it's his specimens and stuff, and Weyland-Yutani seems to be pissed that Boy wants to take it in as his own, as we saw during that phone conversation with the CEO, Yutani, that they're pretty much like, hey, that's our shit, give it back to us, it doesn't belong to you. And he's like, hey, it landed in my city, it's mine now, and if you come and try and take it, I'm gonna consider that hostile. So you have a whole lot of scenarios playing out here, right? You have the synthetics, the cyborgs, and hybrids trying to find their place and where they belong. You have the companies here fighting one another because they want these alien life forms for whatever reason it is. But in the new trailer that we got about the upcoming episodes for the new season, we find out that apparently Boy is going to get these specimens and start to experiment on them. So I think that there could be something here where they might try to sabotage Boy, and maybe this was the sabotage indeed. They knew Boy would fall for the whole thing about these specimens and want to experiment them because he has this sort of flaw to him. Yes, he is a genius and all of that, but he's too smart for his own good, so he feels he's always going to have the upper hand, and thus this sort of like vessel crashing onto Prodigy might have been a whole the whole plan that Yutani had from the beginning as sort of almost a bomb of sorts, but also as an infection on Prodigy City. And this infection, of course, is the xenomorph that will come to run rampant throughout the city, destroying everything, and thus giving Yutani a good excuse to come in and quote-unquote help Boy. But indeed, it's a hostile takeover that's going to happen, and Yutani's going to come in and reap all of the benefits off of it. But I think another interesting aspect we're seeing here is that the character of Wendy is able to communicate with the xenomorph and all of that. And I wonder what the xenomorph wants. My idea here is that these specimens are looking to crossbreed. We've seen it already with some of them, and I think that the next possible step they want to take in is using the synthetics to create something new, or to sort of manipulate them in a way as well. Sort of almost work like a parasite in which they take over the minds of the synthetics and use them to their advantage in order to manipulate everything going on Earth. So that's just a possibility there. I have no clue what's going on. I thought the first 2 episodes were great. I'm very excited to see more of these corporations sort of battling it out. It's giving me sort of like Game of Thrones vibes, right? Where you see these kingdoms, which of course in our society are corporations nowadays. Corporations run the world, and in the world of Alien Earth, of course they do as well. And even the solar system, which is crazy. Very, very bleak idea of what the future could look like, but we'll talk about that another time. But I'm excited. Alien Earth looks great. Let me know your thoughts and what you think is coming up in the next couple of episodes, and what you thought about the first 2 episodes. I thought they were really great. I'm very interested in the character of Morrow. I think we're going to definitely find out what happened on that ship that day and why exactly Morrow's doing what he's doing. And I think that's going to be in episode 5, which is called In Space No One, which is directed by Noah Hawley. I feel like Noah Hawley, of course, was going to direct the episode where we're going to see what happened on the spaceship. I don't think they would just leave it as flashbacks. They definitely filmed it all, and I'm curious to see how it's going to play out. So super excited for that once that episode comes out. But the next episode is called Metamorphosis, which is going to be coming out next week. And I think that that's definitely where we're going to see that these species of sorts are trying to create something new together and sort of go forth and create a new life of sorts, right? Because life always finds a way. Whole other series right there. But nonetheless, you know what I'm getting at. As always, hit that subscribe and hit that notification bell. Let me know your thoughts and opinions on Alien Earth, and what do you expect to see in the next episodes that are coming up. The final episode will be premiering September 23rd. Definitely going to be trying to catch that one. We'll be covering some other stuff then as well, and also on September 9th. But we will be getting to everything as soon as possible. But as always, that's going to do it for me. I'll see all of you next time. We're on the road to 50,000 subscribers. We'll be covering Alien Earth every week, so stay tuned. I do have a full theory video coming out for this on Thursday, so make sure you tune in for that. As always, stay safe, stay positive.